unforgettable fishing. Hi, my name is Darren. I want to tell you an experience of mine that I had over Labor Day weekend. I went on a short weekend vacation, but it was the worst experience. I will never forget it. So it started 2 weeks before. My friend asked me if I wanted to go fishing with him. I said, "Oh, sure." I'm really an avid fisher. I really like doing it. So I sit by the bay often near an island and fish, whatever. So, but no, my friend said that this was going to be deep sea fishing. So, and I've rarely ever experienced that before. So I was eager to do it. I was really excited for the opportunity. So I was excited to see some swordfish and catfish and really big, large fish that I don't see that often. I asked if it cost any money, but he said, oh no, it was free, so that sounded great to me. I was really excited. I couldn't wait. So we all got there on Friday morning at about 7. And we knew all the fishing that was going to be done at night. So we put all our food and clothes and stuff into the truck, and there were 7 people going with us. Some of them I didn't know. So there were 3 deaf people and 3 hearing people. The deaf people I knew, and one of the deaf people was friends with one of the hearing people, but I didn't know any of them, so one of them was the skipper, one of them was the captain, and there was one that was a really good mechanic, so I felt safe about that because if anything went wrong, he'd be there. So we start going, and we're on the boat, and we're going, and it's nice. The waves were about 3 or 4 feet. We were sailing along. There weren't really any bumps or skids so I was just daydreaming about all these huge fish I was going to get, and I couldn't wait to get started. So we get out of there, and our boat starts going at 80 to 100 miles an hour, and I have never gone that fast before. I've gone about maybe 25 mile tops, but this boat was going really fast, so it was a cool experience, and I trusted the captain, so. Should I keep going? Okay, so the boat was going, no big deal. It took forever to get there. If I were the captain, I would have gone maybe 2 or 3 hours. But we were on the boat just going for about 6 hours, and I was getting a little impatient, so... But it was free, and I wasn't the captain, so I just waited, and I was talking. I had 2 or 3 beers, and just chatting with the people I know. So, finally, it was about midnight, and it was really dark, and the boat stopped, and we were getting ready to go. It was pitch black. It was so dark. It was kind of cool to see. So we set up the fishing poles and prepared the boat to start the fishing. The rudders were going really slowly in the back, so I was getting really excited. It was dark. I was a little uncomfortable with some of the people on board, but it was free, so I wasn't going to complain. So, waiting. But then we had to pack up and keep going to another site that was further away. But my one friend that knew the hearing, my one deaf friend that knew the hearing people said, "Hey, let's just go. It's already midnight." But you know, they were the captains, so we weren't gonna argue. So we just kind of kept going and waited and waited. This guy was really stubborn. He wanted to, they just really wanted to do things their way. So we just, you know, hung out, whatever, chatted all night long for 4 hours. So just to give you a picture, there's 3 parts of the boat. The back part of the boat stores stuff, like for fishing or whatever. And that top part is flat. And then there's a middle part where, you know, you hang out and stuff and steer. And then the front part is where you can go underneath, and there's beds down there. So you could, there's a bunch of bunks down there, and you can go in and sleep. And then when you step out, you step onto the middle part, which is flat. So anyway, so I just decided to go to sleep. There's a satellite TV, so that was cool. I was watching football. And I could also see if they caught anything fishing-wise, so I was kind of keeping track of the football game and the fishing. The boat was swaying a little, but eventually it got worse. The waves started getting a little bit higher, but I thought it wasn't a big deal. The boat was huge, so it was 50 feet long and really wide, so I figured it could handle the waves. I thought if it gets over 20 feet, that's a little bit dangerous, but for now it's fine. So it was Saturday at midnight, and I was tired and whatever, so I went to sleep. They were still looking for the tunas, so I was sleeping and let them do their thing. So I started noticing in the room that I was in that there was smoke coming out. I smelled it, and I woke up and I let them know that I thought something was smoking downstairs. It was like coming out of a wall, and they said they thought it was fine. They just thought it was steam, and I was like, okay, whatever. So I went back to sleep. And it started getting worse. It was billowing around and coming out really quickly, and it smelled really bad, so I opened this this panel, and the smoke came out even worse. It was just going crazy. And there was oil spilling out of part of the mechanics of it. So I told them, you know, this is going on. So that, it appeared, was broken, so we were just running on one rudder. So we were still okay. Then, 2 hours later, you know, I was tired, so I was asleep again down in the bunks. Then I wake up, and all of a sudden the boat's rocking around, and people are stepping up above me, and I went up there, and I said, you know, what's going on? So something on the boat had broken. And everyone was going crazy. They didn't know what to do. They tried connecting things and fixing things, and that's when I realized the waves were about 8 or 9 feet. So the boat was starting to rock pretty hard. So the mechanic and the captain opened up and went downstairs to see what was going on and tried to figure it out, and finally they got it fixed so they could steer better. But at this point the waves were coming up really high. So it took about an hour for them to get that fixed. And then we noticed that there would be a cold front coming in with winds at 35 to 40 miles per hour. So the waves were going crazy. They were coming up over the boat. Very choppy. And you know, I was like, we're done fishing. Let's stop. We had 3 or 4 hours left of fishing, but I just said, you know, let's be done with it. Let's go home. I really hoped that we'd catch something, but the fish weren't showing up, and it was a waste of time, and I just thought it was dangerous. But it was free, so I wasn't going to complain too much. We were just going to head home. So it was about 3 at night. All the power turned off. So the boat was going crazy. It was just following the waves because we had no power. I think it was about 3 or 4 in the morning. And the waves had gotten to 10 or 12 feet. The waves were going crazy. They were coming up really high and even covering the moon for a little bit. I was getting drenched with water. It was all the waves. Everyone was falling over, and the waves were coming over onto the boat. So we tried collecting all the debris, because the debris was coming up onto the boat too with the waves. So we were trying to collect the debris and you know, set it aside. I felt like I was getting whiplash because the boat was going so crazy. It was not comfortable at all. We couldn't even sleep. We were just going back and forth, and the power was on. They were trying to fix it. And then they realized they forgot to put water in, so it overheated. So they put some water in and waited to see if it fixed it. 2 hours go by. And they started again, and the engine rumbles, and then the lights go on. So we're like, okay. And remember, only one rudder is working. And when the electricity turned off, the power turned off, the AC turned off, the lights turned off. We had nothing. And we were running on one rudder, and it was just fighting and trying to get over these waves that were just insane. They were coming from all around us. You couldn't predict where they were going to come from next, so you couldn't really balance yourself on the boat. So we tried to get a special parachute that can hook up to the boat so that it could, the water would go into it and it would slow us down so that, oh, and we used the parachute, we used the parachute to kind of help steer us, but it was just being loaded down with water, so we were trying to pull it back into the boat. Then we realized we couldn't go home because the parachute was stuck in the rudder. And we couldn't exactly turn it off because the rudder would still keep going a little bit because the water would be going through it. And this parachute we were trying to pull over was about 400 or 500 pounds with all the water in it. So it was really difficult to pull over. And this parachute got stuck under the boat. We were tugging at it and realized it was stuck. We really wanted to get home quickly, but we didn't know what to do because this parachute was stuck. So finally someone on the boat put on this snorkeling mask and wanted to bring down a knife to cut the parachute off. And we thought I thought it looked kind of dangerous, but this man was very experienced with boats, so he went under the boat, and I'm not exactly sure. I don't understand what was going on because he was bumping up against the boat. He had so much blood on his back and on his head, and he had scratches. We had him on a life vest, so we ended up pulling him out. But he was getting hit. He was hitting the bottom of the boat, and we finally got him over, and his scratches were really, really bad. Video stopped playing. I'm trying to figure it out. So at this point it was 6 in the morning. The sun was starting to come up. And the wind kept getting worse and worse, so the waves kept getting worse and worse. They were coming up very high on either side of the boat. The boat was turning at like a 45-degree angle because the waves were so strong. Some people were asleep, but they were drunk, so that's the only way that I can imagine them sleeping. So we ended up calling the Coast Guard. They said they were on their way, but they said it would take 5 hours to get to us. So we were waiting, and the boat was rocking, and the sun started coming out, so it was really hot, and we were really thirsty, and just trying to be patient with the whole thing. It was awful. The waves were ended up going higher than the boat, and just coming all around us from all different directions. I can handle some waves, but these waves were getting really high, and I was getting a little bit paranoid, a little bit nervous. My heart was starting to beat pretty quickly. The waves were like 12, 15 feet. They just kept getting higher. I was thinking, okay, if they get past 20 feet, I'll be worried, but 15, I'm a little concerned, but it's going to be okay. So finally the Coast Guard got there, and they connected us to the tow, and we were going along. They must have a special machine or something, really big rudders, because it was pulling us. We were a 50-foot boat. But it was going slow. So we were expected to take about 10 or 11 hours to get back. And because the waves were so crazy, the line broke that was connecting us to the boat. We couldn't even walk. We had to crawl around the boat because the waves were knocking us over. We were all falling over. We had lots of bruises. My neck was killing me. And the wind blew my hat off. It was one of my favorite fishing hats. I've had it for like 12 years. I love that hat, but the wind just took it away. I just really had bad luck with it. So, finally, we got to shore. We got into the bay. And just sat there. I didn't know what to do. It was the worst fishing experience ever. And then, come to find out that this boat was really old. And it had just been rebuilt. It was just awful. And basically the whole point of this is you have to respect Mother Nature.